Hello and welcome to episode 138 of the Boot Nerds podcast. JayMike, it's been a while. What's up?
It has been a while, my man. I think, 3 or 4 weeks. We've taken one big break from the podcast. I think we've just been, it's not because we're having a big fight or we're about to break up the podcast or anything. We've just been super busy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, life is good. Obviously, the season of horror is finally over for Manchester United. So there's a new manager coming in, and we can do like a Liverpool fan from 10 years ago and say there's always next season.
There's always next season.
Year will be better.
Yeah.
So I'm not too bad. How are you?
You know what? It's, like you said, extremely busy the last 3 weeks, but doing pretty well.
Yeah. That's good.
I enjoyed it's been fun to picture what you're doing amongst all the Manchester United drama that's been happening on Instagram, between the new coach coming in, between all of the players saying their goodbyes today.
Yeah.
It's a lot of chaos. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with that club over the summer.
Yeah, and it can almost only go forward, But still, history has taught me that positivity and optimism is always also it's what kills you, right? It's the hope that kills you. So let's see. So I'm cautiously. That's not even a word. Cautiously optimistic. Go. Yeah, there we go. We're basically after a few, should we say, it hasn't been dull months, but it's been, it hasn't been the most busy in terms of boot releases. But we're slowly entering like the postseason, gearing up for the summer. There's the Women's Euros coming, and we're going to start seeing products coming in thick and fast now. So that's also an exciting time of the year, which is great. But before that happens, Josh, I think we should just talk about some of the recently released stuff, which is the Predator Mania remake that we've probably all seen by now, and also the release of the new Ultra, which kind of went under the radar, but we'll get to that as well. And of course, we're going to answer some of the questions. They're a little bit old by now, but we're going to answer them anyway. And of course, remember that if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section right down below, and we'll get back to them in the next podcast episode. Where do you want to start? Mania, Ultra?
Let's start with the Ultra, because I feel like that is far more interesting. And also just extremely confusing, because you texted me about them, sharing some opinions, and my initial thought was, what the heck is he talking about? Since when is there a new Ultra?
Since this week. So this is the thing, right? That PUMA almost out of the blue dropped this new generation of the Ultra, and obviously they haven't said much themselves, and neither has anyone else, because it's still it's one of those under the radar releases. That's a little bit of a funny thing, because how do you, especially for content creators like us, how do we tackle that, right? But brand new Ultra, brand new upper, Ultra Weave, so engineered textile upper. It's got a brand new tooling, which is also very cool. New shape as well. This is the women's fit, which is the only one they'll release in this Liberty Pack colorway, which is for the Women's Euros, of course. It also features a Future. It's a Future Set 1.3. It is what it is. But this is like the big new thing, and I don't love the 1.4 as much as you do. I think it's a solid boot, but the upper for me can be a little bit plasticky at times, right?
Sure.
Whereas this is a game changer for the Ultra. I mean, it somehow finds that balance between the softness of the first two generations, and then that thin, super barefoot, like almost, dare I say, OG Mercurial like thinness, that barefoot like feel, that crispy touch on the ball. Mm-hmm. This has that as well. It's super comfortable when you break it in, and it's lightweight. Tooling is very responsive and snappy. It's not quite speed flow, but it's definitely good, very responsive. And my only complaint is the shape. It's a little boxy in the toe box, but man, I can live with it. It's a very good boot.
Yeah, couple questions because I have
Sure.
little to no knowledge of this football boot at all because there just really isn't anything out there. The only information I have about it is from you at this point, at least at the time of recording this podcast.
Right.
The upper is exciting. I think softer is always a better direction to go into. Does it feel as structured as it needs to be for a pair of speed boots?
Absolutely.
So would you compare the structure more to a Mercurial than you would a current Speedflow?
Somewhere in between. I wouldn't
Somewhere
say it's not as structured as it could be more structured, definitely. But that also adds to the charm. Like this is more raw. There's definitely, I would say, enough lockdown. It's not like I felt my foot was moving around, but it leans towards that more free sensation a little bit more, I would say.
Which I think is a good thing. It's when you talk about structure to an upper, there's always a trade-off between having that responsive feel, but then the boot's also being comfortable. And I think the more responsive you make a boot, the less comfortable it's typically going to be for most foot types.
Typically.
Until
they at least figure out like a genius way of doing these things. That I agree. Yeah, that's the trend. But these are like that upper on foot it's ridiculously soft.
Nice.
I got it and I was like, okay, yeah, this is soft, and then got him on my feet. It was like, wow. So very, very strong boot. For me, easily the strongest Ultra they've made so far. Easily.
That's good because I don't really think they've misstepped very much with the Ultra series since it first dropped. And I think it's been only good. Couple more questions though.
Yeah.
Being that this is a women's release, is it a women's fit and is it a women's sole plate like they did with the previous Ultras?
Women's fit, yes. So only women's fit, which is good for me because I have a pretty narrow, shallow foot. So the fit here is very good. So even if you're a male player with a thin, shallow foot, it's very nice. And the tooling is, I don't know how much I can say here. So yeah, it's nice.
Okay. Another observation regarding the tooling. It looks like it's not quite a split sole, but it's got the cutouts in it, which require material to fill in the gaps, which I would think is not as light as the Ultra tooling that it replaces. Weight-wise, where do these fall compared to the previous Ultras?
I don't know. I haven't had the chance to weigh them yet, but they are... I would say they're light enough. I don't know if they're all the way down to those 150, 160 something.
Yeah, right around there, yeah.
That the 1.4 is. It might be a little bit heavier, but it definitely feels sub 180.
Sub 180. Okay, so still super light, but maybe a little bit of a gain compared to the previous gen.
Potentially, yeah. But it doesn't, on foot, it doesn't really matter. Not to me, at least.
Yeah.
And it gives you that, it still gives you that tiptoey sensation you get from the 1.4, but just with a way softer upper. Way softer. Okay. For me, way more accommodating.
To me, that's exciting. Like this is... I think after spending more and more time with all of the current speed boots that have been out for the last little while, I look back at something like the Vapor 13 Elite and I think, wow, that Flyknit upper was nearly perfect. Like it's hard to beat that. It had the right balance of structure and softness, and this kind of looks like it trends into that direction for the Puma brand. I'm assuming the same $200, €200 price point as the previous Ultra as well.
Can't talk about it.
Can't talk about it.
It won't be bad. It won't be bad.
Okay,
let me put it that way. So what I can say though about the upper here is that it feels a lot like the Vapor 13 upper. Actually, maybe a little bit thinner. So not as soft or rich. As that upper was. And it has this texture, which is nice. There is some texture there. It's got this not as sticky as the 1.4, which to me is like overly sticky. It's too much, but it has enough texture and grip on the ball to feel, you feel in control. It's balanced, but it's not as bad as on the and the 1.4. And I say bad because for me it was a little bit too much.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Well, so, yeah. I won't ask you any more questions that you can't answer regarding the Puma Ultra.
That's fair. Obviously, we're gonna have lots more to say on both on the Unisport channels and of course I guess yours when you get your hands on it. But it's a very exciting boot, and I think once Puma lift the lid for this in full, I think a lot of people are gonna appreciate where they've gone, and I think it's gonna be a really, really strong player in the market, the speed boot market, and just market in general for football boots. In the summer.
Just such a weird way of launching what is potentially going to be their most important football boot of the year.
I think what would be more important than the Ultra, especially if it's a good Ultra.
Yeah, I don't understand why they're doing it this way, but hey, they're going to do what they want to do, I guess.
I agree. But look, all I can say is that for me, it's a significant step forward from the Ultra 1.4, and I haven't really been wearing the Ultra 1.4 because the other options are just so good out there, you know. But this goes in the match day bag. It's
nice.
that good. Yeah.
Nice. That's good to hear.
I have quite a lot of boots in the match day bag at the moment, but because there's so much good stuff out there. But you know, it's really good. I enjoy it, and I think you as well will. I think you'll really enjoy it. I got it and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be Josh's top pick of the year.
Interesting. Okay, but just to sidetrack a little bit here, what if you have 3 boots you have to keep in the match day bag right now? What are they?
See, that's not a very fair question, is it? Because you know what time of year it is, so if I say boots that are on the market right now, I would say, that's a good 3 boots. You say
3 boots, yes. So you can change. You can have a pair for the warm up for the first half and the second half.
Which surface am I playing on?
Let's call it surface. Doesn't matter. You're going to have the appropriate stud pattern for whatever boot it is.
Okay. Damn, that's a tricky question. Definitely. So Neos are always in the match day bag. That's one.
Okay.
I would also say Mercs, probably the AGs, just for versatility.
Okay.
And these are the speed flows of the 442s. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's tricky.
That's a tricky one for you. Okay.
But these are definitely like, I've worn them for training a couple of times, and I would seriously consider throwing them in there, maybe even to replace the Mercs.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to do that to gauge how good you actually thought these were.
But I think it's up there among the boots that I would currently enjoy wearing a lot.
Okay. Cool.
And you know, I'd keep a pair of AGs in there. I don't know if you've seen the video we posted on Unisport a couple of days ago. The shorts video where we actually got a clip of me. I mean, it's my own fault. I was being stupid. We were out shooting a video, and I was like, it's Ousmane Dembele skills, and I had left my AGs at home. I was like, yeah, I can wear FGs. It doesn't matter. I know what I'm doing. You know, I'll take it slow. And it was fine until it wasn't fine anymore. And I twisted my ankle, and I made this, my videographer told me I made this like squeaky sound that he'd never heard before. And he was just like, it was so swollen and so blue. And it's like, it was a good example of why you should not wear FG boots on AG pitches if you can avoid it.
It is a nasty clip. It's hard to watch.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny because you texted me that, and I was like, oh, wow, that's small world. I also just hurt myself. So we're both currently just walking wounded at the moment.
Yeah. A good thing was sitting down for the podcast at least. But thankfully, I mean, that could have gone way, way worse than it did. I could have snapped something, just broken the ankle. I mean, it could have been way worse. So thankfully that didn't happen. But take it as a warning again. If you can avoid it, don't wear FGs on AG. And I know I do it for some of the Unisport videos because we only have FG boots at the time, and natural pitches are closed, and it's either shooting FG on AG or not shooting at all. So sometimes you have to sacrifice.
Yeah, and I'd say you're at a lower risk when you're doing things on your own and not being bumped by other players.
Exactly.
But like on a more serious note, go and watch that clip, and you can. It's a perfect example of why bladed studs in particular are such a danger on artificial grass, because you can see your foot plant, you can see your entire body rotate to change direction, and the foot just stayed stuck in the ground.
Yeah.
You need that break in traction for the sake of safety. And if that doesn't happen, you basically just twisted your entire ankle with the entire force of your body and then pushed off. Like it doesn't work.
No, but I'm glad I'm a skinny, lightweight guy, because otherwise I would have been I wouldn't be able to walk right now. So yeah, it's bad. But I got away okay. And you got injured too. What did you do?
I pulled the same hamstring that I have pulled I don't know how many times over the last 5 or 6 years.
Is it the infamous hamstring?
It is that very one, Jay. It is that very hamstring. It's gotten a lot better in the last 2 weeks or so, but it's an annoying, reoccurring injury that I just can't seem to shake.
No, but you never can. That's the thing. Like once that happens, you just know when you heard that snap, you just knew, damn, that's going to follow you for the rest of your playing time.
Yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is at this point.
Well, at least you can walk, so that's good.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Es Luca ya, no? As they say in Spain. But I don't have a segue to this, but basically I thought it was clever. It wasn't. Adi also dropped. They didn't drop this because this is the OG, but they also dropped an SG Predator Mania in the OG colorway, which people have been screaming for ages, and then they go and do it in SG.
Like, in SG. Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know. I don't quite understand it. Just a weird launch day too. I understand it was like on the anniversary of Zidane playing in that final, but it ended up being, was it the day after the current Champions League final?
2 days after the
2 days
current,
after. So it was just really, it seemed like strange timing to me. Like I feel like you could have dropped it on like the day before or the day of, and it would have been a little more exciting, but it kind of came out of nowhere. And typical of a lot of boot releases over the last 2 years or so, they drop them, you pre-order them from places like Unisport, and then you're not expected to get any inventory for months. Like it's hard for people to be excited about a football boot that they're not going to have for a little while, you know?
Yeah. But it's like that with everything at the moment. Like I ordered a new car 3 months ago, and I'm apparently not getting it for another 3. So I don't know. It sucks. It sucks for a boot to come out to be excited about it, and then they say, "Oh, I'm not going to have them for 2 more months." Yeah, exactly. But hopefully, by the time you get the boots, I mean, the pitches will have softened up well enough for the SG studs to actually make sense. And I know you can replace them with replacement FG studs, but it's just not the same. And I appreciate the story, and I think it's cool. You know, I think it's cool they do it with the SG tooling, but maybe just do like they did with the Mercurial SL back in 2008. Like, do a certain amount of SGs and then do the rest in FG. Just for people.
I agree.
I'm not gonna get it. I don't hardly ever wear SG boots, and when I do, I'm not gonna wear Mania.
Yeah.
Are you gonna pull the trigger?
Oh yeah. No, I would definitely. I should have a pair secured, but again, with these long pre-order dates, you never really know, right?
You never know.
So I'm hoping to get a pair. It just feels like it's just such a good-looking football boot.
It is, and that's the thing. Like, I wanted to be super, super hyped for this. I wanted to lose my mind when it came out, just like we did with the Japan Blue Manias. Like, it should be one of the highlights of the year. Pred Mania comes out in that fabled OG colorway, right? This is what people have been crying about for years to get, and now we get it, and it's SG. Like, I just felt that the whole SG story alienated a few of the people that would actually have gotten really excited about it.
Yeah, and they did do it before. The 2014 when they did it was based off a Predator Instinct sole plate, and they did a whole retro pack. I think there was an accelerator.
Yeah. That was the Revenge pack.
94 Predator.
But that was so poorly made. It was all done in synthetic, and it just So
it
for
wasn't
me,
the same.
It's not really it doesn't really qualify for the remake timeline. for me at least. Same with the Champagne Mania. They did, was it 2017, I think? Just, yeah, cool and all, but in hybrid touch and just not very well executed.
It's just, again, similar to that Puma Ultra drop. It's like, this is, if there's like one Predator to remake in a specific colorway that you can make a humongous deal out of amongst all these, it's been at least 50 remakes over the last couple of years from the Adidas brand. Like, it seems
probably,
like it's been a lot. Like, this is the one where like people are going to be legitimately very excited again. And I feel like they released it in the most low key way possible in a variant that people are less excited about. And I get it. Like that boot you're holding in your hand with the soft ground bladed studs, it's cool. It's the coolest version of the OG Predator Mania, in my opinion, at least.
Absolutely. But
however, it doesn't make sense now.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And it's just a shame. And I had a point. I forgot what it was. But quantity. So I would have made sure that everyone, just like Kanye said when he went to Adidas, everyone will be able to get Yeezys. Like, this would be one of the boots I would make sure that every single person who wanted a pair from now and until like the next couple of months, make 10,000 pairs. Or 5, just for people to not have to miss out on a boot that they really wanted. Make this 5,000 pairs FG, and you've got a monster hit, one of the best selling boots of the year. At least I think, right? So, it's great and all, and I'm not hating on it, but it just could have been, a little bit more.
I have to say, I don't think I've mentioned on the podcast, but I recently started deadstockboots.com, and the goal of this is to offer these older football boots that you can't get anymore at resale prices that actually make sense. Because I'm seeing so many just completely made up, expensive for no reason resale prices on the most random football boots. And we're offering to buy people's collections and people's one-off boots, but some of the prices that people are asking, like, I understand you can search up almost anything on eBay and find somebody selling something for $1,000, but that doesn't make them worth $1,000. It just means somebody's asking that. Yeah. And I feel like this is the type of drop when you keep it limited to 2,000 pairs, a good half of that went to flippers, and they're going to be on eBay asking ridiculous prices that I don't think are justified. At $350 retail, that's already more than they probably should be.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. There's zero reason to pay $600 for a boot that just came out.
But that's the thing, and I think it's just a matter of hopefully the market at some point realizing that resale is just it's way overpriced. And I realize that sometimes, the reselling market will always be more expensive in some cases, like PlayStation 5s. Okay, there's a lot of scalpers out there and the inner circles of hell are reserved for those people. But, it's the way it is, sadly. And I just don't, I think a lot of people see opportunities in football boots, but it's just not, for me, the value just isn't there. It's a pair of worn boots from a couple of years back. It's not even like old. It's just yeah,
and that's
a lot
the
of
thing.
Opportunities, but it is what it is. But
that's the thing, especially with used boots. Like there's unless it's just incredibly rare.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of value to your stinky used boots. I'm sorry,
but that's the thing. I mean, it takes something very special for me to buy a used pair of boots. I need to really, really want them, and they need to be very lightly used.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. But good luck with that.
Yeah, no, it's gone well so far. For those that have made it to this part of the podcast and are curious, we are in the process of bringing in a ton of new inventory. It takes time. Unfortunately, in internet time, a couple days, it feels like 3 years.
Yeah.
It's only been like a week and a half, and we're already bringing in new inventory. So
that's great.
Calm down, be patient. It's coming, I promise.
Yeah. Also, talk to me about the shirt real quick.
Oh, the shirt. Oh, this is just one of my favorite shirts of the year so far. No reason in particular. I just really like the design. What else can I say, Jay?
Right. I think it's also time we move on to some questions that are obviously, they're a little bit old because the last episode was like ages ago. It was from back when I had hair. Okay, it's not that old, but still, we have a question here from Mubu222.
What a name.
Wow, what a name. How about a list of preferred boots for hot weather? Going to be playing on 3G in the murderous LA summer soon. Now, I've not played football in LA in the summer, but I can imagine that it is terrible.
Yeah.
Thing is, I would go for, it sounds stupid but I would go for boots, AG boots with, the holes in the studs, and I would go for boots with a white sole. Because if you have a black sole, that actually traps the heat, and it gets warmer. The white sole helps you stay a little cooler because the surface temperature on those 3G pitches, it is going to be high. So you want to, you want to make sure that the sole isn't a heat conductor between your foot and the surface, because otherwise you're going to roast. Okay,
well, we do have some pretty hot summers here, and playing when it's 32 degrees outside on an outdoor AG pitch is not fun.
No.
All those black rubber pellets, they reflect heat, and your surface temperature ends up being probably 40, 45 degrees, depending on what it is. Yeah. It's awful. I've heard what you just suggested a lot, the black versus white comment, where black is going to hold in more heat and be hotter. Based on my experience, I can't say that I've noticed a huge difference between wearing black boots and white boots, and it's something I've experimented with. For me, I would say leather tends to breathe a little bit better than a synthetic material. Knitted boots wouldn't necessarily be a bad option, but I just think having a soft material when your feet get that warm and your skin gets that soft can typically help in reducing the risk of blisters, because they're going to be very high when your skin gets that soft.
Yep. And we also need to remember that when your foot gets warm, it expands. So having some breathing room, or some room in your boots, something that stretches, that's a good point.
Yeah, something that fits super tight is typically not going to be very comfortable after an hour of running around on a surface temperature that hot. And then the other thing I'll say is, AG boot would be ideal from a traction standpoint, but from a comfort standpoint, I really think turf. I know you're giving up on that bite, but having some foam and some more substance between the bottom of your feet and the playing surface will help to dissipate that heat and just be a lot more comfortable. To me, a Mondial team on a really hot day, that's kind of my go-to, because you still get kind of more aggressive turf layout. That's what you want.
It's a great,
in my opinion.
Yeah, but that would be a very, very solid option, Mundial team, especially because you get that little bit of a few extra layers between your foot and the surface. And you might be right that white versus black is not a thing. I just tend to always wear white socks and white boots whenever I can when it's really hot. But maybe it's just
that's the best look, though. Yeah, that is the best look.
Unrivaled. Andrew Palmer asks, Josh and Jay, Mizuno should sign a young and upcoming star. And Mizuno say, yeah, but what if we sign Sergio Ramos instead?
I think truthfully, I think there's more impact in that than signing a young rising star.
And I agree. And at the point Mizuno were before Ramos, I was just like, any big name would do. And he's a really big name, one of the best defenders in the last 10 years, right? One of the best defenders of most successful defenders, at least of our generation. So I think, yes, he's in the aftermath of his career, but or the late stages of his career, but he's still a great player. And
I think it's hard to, if you're listening to the Boot Nerds podcast, I'm going to assume you're a little bit more into football and football boots than the average person is. I think when you're talking about endorsement deals, there's brand recognition to a name, where Cristiano Ronaldo is a terrible example, but everyone knows who Cristiano Ronaldo is. And if this next season he comes out and he scores 0 goals, people still know who Cristiano Ronaldo is. And if he were to switch to a different brand, oh my gosh, Cristiano Ronaldo is wearing this brand. And I think that's what they've done with Sergio Ramos, because I'm just thinking back to How many times throughout our time reviewing football boots have there been notable signings by Mizuno? Sergio Ramos comes to mind. Fernando Torres comes to mind.
Yeah. But that was, he was still,
Does Hulk count? Like, that was such a long time ago.
Yeah.
But from Hulk to Fernando Torres, can you think of one notable person?
Nope.
No. And that's because you just need, you need that big name. And I think the problem with signing an up-and-comer is you sign this guy to an entry-level contract, and if he does end up being this superstar, guess what? He's going to move on to a bigger brand that's going to offer him way more money, and they've effectively just like, and what do they get out of it?
We also need to consider validation. And signing someone like Sergio Ramos, who's been wearing the Legends for as long as I can remember, the fact that he's willing in the eyes of the average consumer, willing to go to Mizuno, who might be like a bit of an unwritten chapter for them, is validating the quality of the brand in their eyes. So the fact that he's putting his name on that, saying, it's good enough for me, and he's wearing stock boots and all that. So that's good. It should be the first step of many for Mizuno in terms of their endorsement deals. But I think it's a great move. It's a great move. One of the good players to get. So
yeah, I think it was smart, and I think they should try to do that as often as they can.
Yes, I agree. Who's next?
Yeah.
Mbappe,
and especially Nike seems to just let these players walk. Like, I still am baffled. Like, Sergio Ramos was shocking because it's like, this is a guy that got a signature tiempo. There's only a few other guys that got that. Pirlo, Totti, Ronaldinho. That's it. Like, that's quite a list to be on.
Yes.
And for them to just let him walk after giving him signature colorways is crazy to me. Same thing with Iniesta. Like, that guy is responsible for so much success of effectively categories that Nike more or less created. Like, control boots wouldn't exist if it weren't for Nike, and Iniesta pretty much fronted that line.
Yeah, I agree.
That series for a long time, and for him to just walk and go sign with ASICS. Obviously, ASICS has not done very much promotion outside of the Asian markets, but just weird to me.
It is. I agree. But and this is maybe something we're going to see more of, that the big brands are going to cut the pool of players that they have to, like, the very core, and then we might see some of these, like, I don't want to call them B tier stars, but the ones that aren't exactly Mbappe and Ronaldo and Messi and those like superstars for the ages, right? Might do deals like Ramos. Let's see what happens. An interesting question here from Alejandro A. Best. If you could take one major decision in each of the following brands, Adidas, Puma, Nike, and Mizuno, what would it be? I'm guessing Jay could say hire me as a designer, which would be smart from the brand's perspective. Oh, thank you. Someone's looking for cheap internet points, but you got them. So that's cool. You got them.
10 points.
Yeah. I think okay, let's do Addy first. What would you do if you had to make one important decision from Addy?
I mean, I'd love to say fix the Predator as it is right now. I would. Okay, if I could do a realistic small change, I'm switching the upper on the Predator Edge into some variation of hybrid touch.
Yes.
And I think that makes that football boot really, really good.
It would make it.
I also, we've talked about this on the podcast at least 10 times now. And judging by my shirt, I have to assume Adidas is listening to some extent. The classic Predator series to combat Nike's Premier line, I just think is such a good idea. I just feel like they'd sell so many. Rather than this game mode thing that they're doing, for $120, if that's the price point, man, make a classic leather Predator that's simplified and it's going to sell like crazy.
Yeah, basically, I mean, do make a New Balance 442 and sell it at that price point, and
Yeah.
I mean, that,
I feel like they're missing out on that part of the market big time right now.
That would definitely make sense. I don't know. It's a tough one because there's so much to do. I mean, obviously fix the Pred, and fix the Copa to some extent. It's not terrible, but it just needs, like, they really need to follow it up well to not kill it again. I think for me, I'd actually look into a small-sided for Adidas, either fixing small-sided or make it competitive, or really look into their takedown game, which to me is just like they're falling a bit behind right now in the current market.
Yeah, it's gotten better, but I think everybody else has also stepped up their game. So
yeah, that's probably what I would do at Adi. Puma, kill the current king. And wait with bringing the king back until you got something that will really blow our minds.
I agree with that.
Future, I think, Future is it's a bit of a funny one, but it works as a good boot. So, but maybe make it a little bit more specific. Give it a bit more of a specific English specific USP than it has right now.
Yeah, and truthfully, I'd probably do everything I could to get Neymar into the Ultra.
I agree.
I just think that makes sense.
Yeah. I definitely now. I mean, it's basically it's give it the Ultra with the King Pro tooling. I mean, it would be his dream boot.
Yeah, especially given the history of how much people notice Neymar boot switches.
Oh yeah, but
switch him.
Put him into the Ultra.
If he's willing to switch into every new model you release, switch him.
Just across the board, that would be a pretty good idea. I think you need to pay him a lot more money to do that, but hey, it is what it is. You can also do like they did back in the day, and remember, I went to the PUMA archives. I don't know. Yeah, that was after the last episode we did. So I went to the PUMA HQ, went to the PUMA archives. We actually met up with a guy who used to be hope he still is, but who knew me from Unisport, has been watching the Bootnerds podcast, just contacted me on Instagram, met him randomly on a holiday in Vietnam, and now he's the archive manager at the PUMA archive. Anyways, shout out Tung, by the way. But he took me there, and I saw some crazy stuff. Amongst others, a PUMA Evo Power that was painted as if it was a PUMA Evo Speed SL.
Oh.
But they could do that again. It was for Marco Reus, by the way. But they could do that again, for Neymar. Just paint the boots to whatever it should be and have him like shop him around in different.
It's been done. Those are always the coolest boots, though.
Yeah, so
remember, I think it was Sterling or Hazard wore Nike GS2s that were actually Vapor 9s.
Yeah, I remember
painted like a GS2.
I remember those.
That's cool.
Yes, I think it was Sterling.
I think it was Sterling.
And there's of course the whole Neymar Hypervenom Vapor thing, which was also pretty iconic. But funny thing. But yeah, PUMA, probably something to do with the king. Fix the king. Nike, it's a tough one, but I think I'd take a long, hard look at the Phantom and say, okay, we've had it for a few years now, and it hasn't really kicked off. What can we do here? Should we scrap it, introduce another new third silo? Should we bring back the Hypervenom? What I would do if I was Nike right now, though, is I would open up the big golden chest and I would release a 1-to-1 remake of the Hypervenom Phantom 1. And I would make a shit ton of pairs, and I would make so much money that people would be, singing my name every morning I walked into the main hallway. 50,000 pairs. You get a Hypervenom. You get a Hypervenom.
Yeah.
Like that. It's a gold mine for them. That's what I would
Yeah, I agree. I think Nike needs to swallow their pride a little bit in terms of having this never look back attitude in regards to their football boots.
Yeah.
And I think bringing back the Hypervenom series is probably a good idea. I always think back to Magista and CTR 360. I love the idea of a control boot, which I suppose is kind of what the Phantom GT is supposed to be right now. Yeah. But I think it just occurred to me the other day, as much as I think we criticize the quality at the top end of the Adidas brand right now, where the Pred Edge is a little questionable in some ways. The Copa Sense you just mentioned, not the best thing in the world. Speedflow is great, obviously. But I think what they're doing really well is they have 3 very distinctively different football boots in terms of fit and feel. And Nike's maybe a little bit missing that right now between how similar the Phantom GT and the Mercurials, when you really break it down, they're not that different from each other. One is just a worse version in the Phantom GT2. So I would love to see something that whether it's a Hypervenom Phantom 1, whether it's something along the CTR 360 Maestri 3 route, bringing back Kangalite, I think could be an interesting thing for them. I want to see that third silo from Nike be a little bit more experimental, whether they're going back to something they've done before or something entirely new again.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It needs to be more exciting. That's really it.
I'm totally with you here. Totally with you. And I'd probably, I know you're not gonna like this. I'd probably kill the Premier, and I would look at what New Balance have been doing, and I would think that 442, we can do that, and we can do that better. I think the 442 is a stroke of genius. Like, I didn't like the first generation. I thought it was irrelevant. But the second one is so good. And for that price, I mean, nothing really comes close to that boot. It's so simple, but it just works so well. It's lightweight. The touch is lovely. I have a lot of positive things to say about that boot. And I mean, if it's not like if New Balance can do it, then everyone can do it. That's not the point I'm trying to make. But I just think that Nike can do some. Premier right now, Premier 3, not the biggest fan. And I think they could do something. Have a Gloro type thing, which has modern notes, like the 442.
I think the issue with that is they're protecting the Tiempo.
Yeah.
I think the reason why the New Balance 442 gets to be that good is because it's not competing against their other two main lines, right?
You're making an annoying lot of sense right now, yeah.
Again, if I'm in charge of Nike, I also have to look at the success of the Premier Series. It doesn't get any marketing attention, but every colorway, for the most part, pretty much sells through. That's something that can't be said about most of their inline stuff. And again, it's also funny. We look at the world of football boots and say, oh, leather football boots are dying. But there's an argument to be made that two of the most successful lines from Nike from a sales perspective are Tiempo and Premier right now. So I don't know. I would be hard pressed if I was in charge to tinker with those too much.
Yeah.
I definitely think that they could make the Premier a little bit better, modernize the tooling a little bit more. But other than that, to me, it's that third silo that needs help more than anything. Yeah, and I agree. It would also be cool to see some separation between Vapor and Superfly again, but
that's the other
get
thing,
why they're doing it the way they're doing it.
We've been talking about this for ages, and I don't think they're going to do that, but it would be cool to make the Superfly super again. Right now it's just, or maybe should it be super or fly? Maybe it should be, Anyways, that didn't go very well, but you know what I mean. Mizuno, what we do at Mizuno. I would as good of a boot as it is, I would probably scrap the Rebula and say, okay, it hasn't had the impact that we wanted. Rebula 3 was absolutely brilliant, but it hasn't had the impact we wanted. And I would make the most hardcore speed boot that they can. Like a super duper hardcore speed boot. Something where people just go like, oh, that's right in the sweet spot between, comfort and lightweight responsiveness. We saw what was going on. Were you on that Mizuno trip or wasn't? No, that wasn't that. Mizuno's HQ, like the lobby, they have like robo legs and all that stuff. Like, they've got some stuff going on over there. So I would go head to toe or head to head with Nike, Adi, and Puma for the speed boot market, and really just come out with something.
I agree with that. I think I agree in the sense that I think Mizuno needs to dip a little deeper into the technology side of that company, because I think they have some really cool stuff that they're not utilizing in the football boot world. And I'm with you. The Rebula, it's, again, talking about diversity throughout the line. You have 3 football boots. They're all kind of just viewed as kangaroo leather, variations of the same thing. They just did a re-release. It seemed to be pretty successful. I think something along the lines of Wave Ignitus, go full power boot, lots of rubber elements, lots of craziness. Strike, Nobody else is really doing it outside of Predator Edge.
It sucks.
Like, I think it'd be cool.
Yeah,
I think it would be cool.
And now is the time to look. The biggest competitor, arguably the boot model that they took inspiration from for the Wave Ignitus is on its knees. It's there for the taking. You know, it's ready for the knockout blow. It's too. You know, Mizuno can't do anything right now because it takes 2 years to make a football boot, right? But that'll be interesting, yeah. You know, to see them back in the control boot, power boot game would be interesting. And then I would just, you know, I'd do that. But I think the biggest decision would be to spend a truckload of money on another European endorsee to get the name out there. I think that's what they need more than anything right now. You know, you and I, all the other, you know, boot influencers out there, we can tell people what the world looks like and that Mizuno boots are genuinely good. But you know, you only really reach the people who care about football boots in the first place, who might have heard the myth of Mizuno. So, you know,
who would you sign? Hypothetically, who would be available? Because you got to kind of think end of their career, probably willing to move on if the money was there.
Good question.
I think, hear me out on this. I don't know if it's a good idea, but it would certainly get attention in Zlatan.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, like, I mean, why not?
I think that'd be sweet.
That's a great idea. It's a great idea.
Not to say that that's a name that's bigger than the brand he'd be representing, but
yeah, Zlatan would be a game changer.
I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, I agree. So Mizuno, Adi, Nike, and Puma. There you have it. The big decisions you need to make in the near future, as per usual. We'll take these are pretty big, high-level decisions. So we'll take 20% this time.
20%.
Yes. So if you happen to do these things, we'll give you a call. I think Josh, unless you have any closing remarks, we will end this episode 138 of the Bootnerds podcast. Remember, if you had a good time, leave us a like. We'll greatly appreciate that. If you have any questions for us in the future, leave them in the comment section right down below. We'll try and be make it happen faster than 4 months again, 4 weeks again, however long it was. But, you know, obviously, we've got a lot of stuff to do, lots of boots coming out, but we will try to be back on a regular basis again. Josh, with those words, it's been a pleasure. I've been JayMike, and I approve this message. See you around.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See ya.